Good evening, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Commonwealth Club of California. Find us on the internet at commonwealthclub.org. This program is part of the Traverse series on ethics. I'm John Wood, the founder and executive chairman of Room to Read, and it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Bill Gates Sr., co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the author of the book we're talking about tonight, Showing Up for Life. Mr. Gates, welcome.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to be here.
We know that you're not doing the 42-city kamikaze mega book tour, so as a 9-year resident of San Francisco, I just want to say that all of us here are honored that you did include us on your limited book tour. Mr. Gates needs no introduction. Nonetheless, I'm going to give him a brief introduction. Mr. Gates was born in Bremerton, Washington, and is the third in his family to have the same name, his grandfather being the first, William Henry Gates. He was an active member of a Boy Scout troop for several years and earned the Eagle Scout Award in 1941. After high school, he enlisted in the United States Army, changing his name to William Gates Jr. to avoid the appearance of elitism. This according to your Wikipedia biography.
Also true.
We'll circle back to that. Mr. Gates fought in the Army in World War II and was honorably discharged in November of 1946. He then attended the University of Washington under the GI Bill. I know we have many members of the University of Washington Alumni Association here tonight. He earned his BA in 1949 and then a law degree in 1950. He practiced law until 1998. That's 48 years for those of you keeping track, primarily with a law firm which he co-founded originally as Schindler and King in 1964, later known, of course, as Preston Gates and Ellis LLP, and today known as K&L Gates. Gates also served on the board of Planned Parenthood. In 1998, he retired from the law firm. He currently serves on the Board of Regents for the University of Washington and is, of course, the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which his son Bill and his son's wife Melinda founded. He has served as a director for Costco and has adopted the suffix of senior to distinguish himself from his apparently more famous son, according to Wikipedia. We can challenge that reference if we wish to. Gates is a co-author, along with Chuck Collins, of the book Wealth in Our Commonwealth, Why America Should Tax Accumulated Fortunes, a defense of the policies promoted by the estate tax. He married Mary Maxwell Gates, whom he met at the University of Washington, and he talks about this in his book, who unfortunately died in 1994. They had 3 children together, Christy Ann, Bill, and Libby. In 1996, Gates married Mimi Gardner Gates, who is the director of the Seattle Art Museum, which I hope all of us have gone to because it is a spectacular museum. So, with that said, we can go ahead and dive right in.
Good.
I've talked enough. It's time for you. I want to start with a question of identity. You were a very accomplished lawyer and a very active community member, one of the more well-known members of Seattle society. Over time, your identity changed somewhat, not only because of your son becoming so successful, but also because you both have the same name. I'd love for you to talk about your identity before Microsoft became part of the public conscious, and then how that identity has changed over time.
Well, there was a time when I was somebody. And actually, recently, I had the privilege, I got to introduce him at an event 2 weeks ago to turn. And the curious thing is, you know, this Roman III, Junior, and all that stuff. Finally, you know, I decided he was going to be, I can't be Junior with somebody as young as he is around who has the same name, so I sort of let the whole thing go and thought maybe he'd become Junior. It didn't come natural to him, but the thing that did come natural is that I became Senior. So now up there at the foundation, you know, where the hell is Senior? Anybody seen Senior today? So I've got a whole new name.
There's been a lot written in the last probably decade about aging well, and I'll say I've seen you 3 times in the last 12 months, and every time I see you, I feel like you're a man who's aging very, very well. What would your advice be? I think you're somewhere around 83, 84 years old. 83 years old. What would your advice be to people in this audience? I mean, I certainly look at you and say, gosh, when I'm 4 decades older, I hope that I'm as healthy, as happy, and as productive as you are. What would you say people should be thinking about?
Well, consider the possibility of having a son with $1 billion. It's a very positive contribution. You know, I am pleased at being busy and having an office that I have to go to, and I wouldn't trade it for, you know, a month on the beach or 6 weeks on the golf course. But that's just the way I feel about it. I wouldn't couch that as a recommendation to anybody. It's kind of how you feel. And I think they're just, I really couldn't be so presumptuous as to advise you to get involved in some kind of a foundation somewhere. There aren't enough good foundation jobs around for that. But part of my exhilaration about still being a working person is the place that I work, and you know that's a pretty obvious thing. It's a very warm, even exhilarating place to work because of all the things we're doing. Partly because it's just so interesting and challenging. We have a fairly widespread portfolio, and keeping track of that and listening to what the experts are doing to try to accomplish this or that fascinating stuff, and then just being involved to some extent in the decision making and that sort of thing makes it easy to get up in the morning.
I'm confident many members of the audience have ideas on how the foundation's focus could be even more widespread over time. That was a little joke. I'm sure you get pitched a lot. I'm sure you get handed a lot of stuff in hallways and on airports and all that stuff. How do you handle that graciously, given that you do have your focus areas?
John, you might be surprised that it isn't all that great. Way back in the mid-'90s, when all this started, 1995, that was a concern, and we were very naive. We just started the foundation, and Bill and Melinda put something in the neighborhood of $100 million in, and we didn't have any particular plans. We didn't have any emphases, and we had a lot of mail, random mail of one kind or another, and we weren't into that mode very long until we realized that we really should be thinking about things that we were interested in doing and starting to draw some lines around what we got up in the morning to do. And of course that led to, it didn't take very long for people to begin to understand what we did do and what we didn't do. As a result of which, the random proposals, requests, that sort of thing, are significantly diminished. But one of the things that I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but it may be of interest to you to know that we still, I'm sure it's daily, get at least one letter from somebody who just wants money personally because their mortgage is being foreclosed or health problems, that sort of thing. And this is not fun reading. I don't read them anymore, as a matter of fact, but it is kind of surprising that people at large who are having some kind of a problem and know about this activity of ours think in terms of the possibility that somehow they would get a gift from the foundation. It's sort of sad, actually. But.
Is it true, kind of the mythology, that Bill literally had like I don't know, like a shoebox or just kind of a big stack of file held together with a big rubber band, and in a short amount of time it's morphed from that into where it is today, of the world's largest foundation?
Well, the shoebox and the rubber band is just a little extreme, John.
Okay, well,
it was
never let truth get in the way of a good story.
We had file folders and we had drawers that the files went in. It was really
okay.
pretty serious business. But it was.
It's amazing what a half an hour at the Office Depot